Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, viewers. Welcome to Astana al with another presentation from the class of criticism. This is Ibrahim Khokhar, and in this lecture we will be talking about the definition of tragedy given by Aristotle in his famous masterpiece, The Poetics. In chapter 6 of Poetics, Aristotle defines tragedy, and we will be discussing the definition of tragedy given by Aristotle, and then I will explain it in simple words so that every student of literature may understand it easily. Aristotle defines tragedy as the imitation of an action that is serious, has magnitude, and is complete in itself, in language with playable accessories, each kind brought in separately in the various parts of the work in a dramatic and in a narrative form, with incidents arousing, not in narrative form, with the incidents arousing pity and fear wherewith to accomplish its catharsis of such emotions. Now, this is the definition presented by Aristotle. Now, according to Aristotle, tragedy is the imitation of an action. Now, the base of this imitation is the action of life. As the student of literature, we all know that drama itself is an imitation of action. Now, this action is the action of life. So, tragedy is also an imitation or the representation of the real action of life. Now, this is not a real action. This is simply the representation or imitation of that action, imitation of a real life action. But this action should be serious. One of the important elements of tragedy is that in tragedy the action that is presented is serious. Then Aristotle goes on to define, and he says that it has a magnitude, means a tragedy has limitations. It is not like the drama that most of the time, for example, we have Indian soap serials going on with hundreds and thousands of episodes. It must have a magnitude, it must have a limitation. But in the next word, Aristotle defines its limitation and says that it should be complete in itself. It should not be incomplete. It must be complete in itself. And then Aristotle, talking about the language and diction of tragedy, says that it must have a language with playable accessories. Means the language of tragedy must be sublime, having all the figurative speech, have the characteristics of sublimity that were later defined by Longinus. So the language of tragedy should be added with the accessories of language, means all the figures of speech, all the seriousness of language, means particular and selective vocabulary, the terminology. It should not be vulgar, it should be serious and with a beautiful language. So this is important, point here. Then tragedy must have certain parts, each kind brought in separately in the various parts of the work. Means in tragedy there should be beginning, then there should be conflict, rising action, reaching at climax, then moving downwards, anticlimax, and finally denouement, or finally the conclusion. But each part should be separately defined. We better be in a position to understand that where climax comes, how story rises, how plot rises, and then how it moves towards the conclusion. Okay? Then it should be the work of a drama. It should be in a dramatic form, not in a narrative form. Because if it will be in a narrative form, it will not be considered as a play, it will not be considered as a drama. So tragedy, we all know that is a kind of a drama. Now, taking this definition further, Aristotle in this definition, because this is the established definition of Aristotle, and this is the authentic definition of tragedy ever given by a great critic, by a great artist, and all the students of literature know this. In this definition, telling us about tragedy and its constituents, its language, Aristotle at the end of definition tells us about the function of tragedy. What should be the function of tragedy? According to Aristotle, the function of tragedy is to arouse pity and fear. Now these pity and fear should be aroused with the help of dialogues, with the help of the incidents, the portrayal of such incidents that may arouse pity and fear, wherewith to accomplish. Now what is the purpose of arising such emotions? That is to accomplish catharsis. Catharsis means purification or purgation of these emotions. So Aristotle in the definition of tragedy in smaller words has told us a very lengthier and very elaborated definition. He tells us that what really tragedy is. He says that tragedy is an imitation of action. This action should be taken from real life and then it should be played and performed on a stage. Okay, but the theme and the purpose of that drama or that play should be serious. So it should be the copy of a serious theme. For tragedy, the requirement is seriousness. And then it should be complete in itself. It should be complete in itself. It should not go long and long and long, okay, wherein it may lose its purpose. Then its language should be embellished one. Writer must take care of the language that he employs in tragedy. And then it should be in a dramatic form. It should not be in narrative form. And its various parts should be clear. Its parts should be clear. Means it must have a good beginning, then it must have plot. Means all these elements of tragedy that are also discussed in this poetics. We will be talking about these elements in different video, in another video. Okay, so there should be a proportionate account of these elements. And then finally he tells us the function of tragedy. The function of tragedy is to arise the elements, the emotions of pity and fear, so that catharsis may be achieved. Now what is catharsis? Catharsis is the purgation and purification of emotions. So for Aristotle, tragedy is a serious type of play and it has a purpose. All the tragedies of the world later on are written on the basis, on the formula of this definition given by Aristotle. And let me make it clear that Aristotle defined tragedy on the basis of tragedies written by three Greek classical tragedy writers, Aeschylus, Sophocles and Euripides, especially the plays of Sophocles. Thank you very much for watching this video. I am sure that this video may aid your knowledge regarding criticism with these smaller clips, with these smaller definitions from different critics. We will be presenting these videos in future too. So keep on watching our videos and subscribe our channel for more information. Thank you very much. This is Ibrahim Khokhar from Astana Lemakia.